you said the phrase the other day, it's important to be elephants among penguins. Can you explain a little bit to the listeners, like what that is, what that concept is, and how can they be more of that elephant versus that penguin in the market?
Yeah, that's a good question. I came up with this back in 2014 because, although I had a little bit of experience watching business breakthroughs grow this home builder Homex, I hadn't, even though I'd actually worked in over 100 different industries over that time, I hadn't specifically worked with a remodeler or home builder other than Homex. And so when I took a landscape, just imagine looking down on the entire industry, which is massive, as you know, is that the reputation almost is that all contractors are like commodities. I mean, commodities like in the simple form of like, rice, bananas, like that's how they're seen. And it's frustrating. I know everybody listening is like, yeah, we have that somewhat reputation sometimes. And so from that point of view, like they're all the same. The only difference between them is maybe the price. And that's very difficult for anybody to thrive in. So if you've ever seen a picture, and I'm sure you have, of 1,000 penguins, they're all together, they're out on a rock formation near the water in someplace cold likely, and they literally look exactly the same. I don't think the average person, can't speak for you or others, but for me, I couldn't tell one penguin apart. And they're black and white, they look the same, they wobble. So if your prospective client sees you as a penguin, you're just like everybody else. You need to find a way to imagine an elephant amongst those thousands of penguins. Imagine just the visual of how different that is. That's your job. You need to stand out from the crowd. You can't be seen as a commodity contractor. You're not going to win the game. It's going to be hard work. You're not going to scale. And every day it's going to be a grind versus when you can position yourself as the elephant, or you will be positioned as a penguin. And that's a crossroad you got to meet. I'm not saying it's easy. It takes a lot of skill, but if you're seen as the penguin, you're going to have an uphill battle versus position yourself as an elephant amongst the penguins. And we don't need to go into all the details of that. There's a lot of ways to do that, but you got to become the expert. You got to separate yourself. And when you do, you can win the opportunities you want to win. I'll use a basketball term. If you do it really well, you'll be able to cherry pick. Not saying it's easy, but if you work at it, it can happen.